Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the final part of our three-part Tackling Taxes, the 2024 tax season series. This webinar is brought to you from Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A, or Brooklyn's A, Consumer Economic Advocacy Program, and the team at Grow Brooklyn, who you will hear from shortly. My name is Kendra Dunston. I'm the Development and External Affairs Coordinator here at Brooklyn A, and I will be your moderator tonight. And I would like to thank our sponsors of this three-part series, Senator Roxanne Prasad, Councilmember Sandy Nurse, and Councilmember Crystal Hudson. Councilmember Hudson is tonight's sponsor and is the council member for District 35, representing the neighborhoods of Crown Heights, Prospect Heights, Clinton Hill, and Fort Greene. A third-generation Brooklynite and daughter of Jamaican and Honduran immigrants, she was elected in 2021 and made history as the first out gay Black woman ever elected in New York City. Crystal is a public servant committed to making government more accessible for more people. Tonight, we have Demi Brown, Director of Constituent Service and Community Impact, here with us to give remarks on behalf of the council member. Demi has been such an amazing resource for us here at Brooklyn A, but even more for the constituents that she serves. Demi is there to assist with anything you need, from support with city agencies to understanding a piece of legislation, or if you have issues with your landlord, whatever you're going through, Demi is there to help. Thank you, Demi. Thank you for being here to join us. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Kendra, so much. Thank you all for joining this evening. And thank you so much for that really nice introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Demi Brown. As Kendra said, I'm the Director of Constituent Services for the council member. If you all ever need any help or any resources, you can always reach out to our office. If anyone's listening, our number is 718-260-9191. There's no issue that's too small for our office, so you can always reach out to us. And thanks for joining. Thanks, Kendra.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Demi. I appreciate all you do and all the work you put in. We'll be in touch, and I look forward to being able to help more people with you through you. I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
You too.
Thank you. All righty. So then tonight's presenters is Carmen Del, it is Tamara Del Carmen. And Tamara is Brooklyn A's Program Director of our Consumer Economic Advocacy Unit. Prior to joining Brooklyn A, Tamara worked mostly at a private practice firm representing clients on matters including bankruptcy, tax, real estate, immigration, and litigation. Tamara holds a JD from Albany School of Law, Union University, and a BA magna cum laude from St. John's University. Tamara is admitted to practice in New York, New Jersey, Eastern and Southern District Courts of New York, District Court of New Jersey, Eastern and Southern District Bankruptcy Courts of New York, and the U.S. Tax Court. Tamara, you can represent us almost everywhere. Thank you for being here tonight. And from Grow Brooklyn, we have the amazing Jason Weeks, who is the tax site manager and has actually presented all three parts of this series. Jason, thank you so much. Jason helps by serving thousands of Brooklyn families and protecting millions in financial assets each year. I want to say thank you again, Jason, for your knowledge, your partnership, and your commitment to the residents of Brooklyn. And before we get started, we want to tell you a little bit about Brooklyn A for those who don't know. Brooklyn A believes all New Yorkers should have equal access to legal services to seek justice, make their voices heard, and overcome systemic racism and oppression. We were established in 1968 as part of the War on Poverty, and Brooklyn A believes that attorneys play a critical role in combating poverty, inequity, and racism. Our civil legal services, organizing efforts, and educational resources assist our clients and their communities in defending and mobilizing harassment, displacement, and gentrification, and asserting their rights. Tonight's program is brought to you from our Consumer and Economic Advocacy Program, or simply CEA. And here they prevent foreclosures and defend against predatory lending. They resolve tax issues with the IRS for low-income taxpayers, often for $1 at times, and strive to ensure that vulnerable groups have strong safeguards in place to help them build and maintain assets throughout their financial lives. Also, under our CEA program, we have a domestic violence unit that offers assistance with orders of protection, child custody, and support, and more. As you can see, the other building blocks there, we have a preserving affordable housing program. And we help with matters surrounding eviction prevention, anti-harassment, repairs, tenant organizing, and more. And then we have our community economic development program that assists small business owners with commercial leases, advice on laws and options. We help negotiate rent and arrears and more. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jason, who's going to talk a little bit about Grow Brooklyn and begin our program. But right before we do, I want to let you know you will be able to ask questions. We will have a question and answer portion at the end, and you'll be able to type your questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand and I will unmute you and you can ask your question to the experts directly. So now with that, I will turn it over to Jason.
Thank you so much, Kendra. Okay, so we'll start off the program today. So I'm Jason Weeks again. I'm the site manager for the VITA Grow Brooklyn VITA program. I've been doing this now too many years. So I don't want to say how many years because that means I'm only 25. So good. So we'll get into the discussion now. Basically, you can go to the next slide, Kendra. So self-employment obligations. This is the SETP program for the self-employment, really doing taxes with self-employment. Next slide. The origins of self-employment tax program. What is its purpose? Next slide. For many, beginning self-employment is exciting. We are owning your own business, so you can get work how you please, where you please, when you please, and for whom you please. What defines a business versus that defines a hobby? The difference between business structures, you can choose from when you start your business, self-employment tax, and estimated tax payments, all about filing out Schedule C's, the main tax forms for the self-employment, business assets, descriptions, and Section 179 deductions. The expenses are deductible and which are not. Next slide. Do you truly have a business according to the IRS? The answer will determine whether you can deduct expenses from income. The IRS has a list of factors to determine whether you are pastime is more business than a hobby. No one factor is distinctive. The IRS says all facts and circumstances are taken into account. Here are most common factors. Do you carry on the activity in a business-like manner? Do the time and efforts you put into the activity indicate that you intend to make it profitable? Do you depend on the income from the activity for your livelihood? Are your losses due to circumstances beyond your control, or are they moral in the startup phase of your type of business? Next slide. Do you truly have a business according to the IRS? Do you change your methods of operation in attempt to improve profitability? Do you and or your adversaries have knowing needed to carry on activity as successful businesses? Were you successful in making a profit in similar activities in the past? Does the activities make a profit in some years? If so, how much? Can they expect to make a future profit from the application of the assets used in this activity? Do you truly have a business according to the IRS? The IRS assumes any activities for profit if it makes a profit in at least the three of the last 5 tax years, including the current year. Next slide. Schedule C reporting. Reporting business income and expenses on Schedule C's profit loss for business. Working classifications. Okay. Working classifications. An employee is generally considered anyone who performs service. If the business controls what will be done, what makes the business has the rights to control the details of how the workers' services are performed. An independent contractor is typically a person in an independent trade, business, or profession in which they offer their services to the public. Next slide. Independent contractors versus an employee. Whether a worker is independent contractor or employee depends on the relationship between the worker and the business. There are 3 categories to consider. Relationship of the parties, written contracts or employment benefits, behavior control of how the worker does their job, and financial control, 1099 NEC or W-2. Next slide. Misclassification workers are independent contractors adversely affecting employment because the employer's shares of tax is not paid. The employer's share is not withheld. The employee's share is not withheld, I'm sorry. IRS tax dates to remember. Tax deadline. The deadline to file most Americans is April 25th, 2025, which is a Tuesday. When is the deadline if I file for an extension? Taxpayers requesting extension will have till October 15, 2025 to file their 2024 tax return. Filing an extension does not push back your payment deadline, though you still need to submit anything you owe on time to avoid late penalties. Extension just gives you the more time to complete your return. Voluntary Income Tax Assistance, VITA PREP, an IRS-sponsored tax preparation program created to promote tax and awareness and understanding, prepare free and accurate tax returns for low to moderate income individuals, elderly people with disabilities, encourages personal assets buildings through incentives like opening bank accounts and tax incentives like contributing to your IRA, college savings like a 529 account, allowing taxpayers to avoid the service of predatory commercial tax preparers. Self-employment tax prep, year-round service for self-employment small business owners, freelancers, gig workers up to $250,000 in expenses. If you work for yourself, you need to file taxes annually and make estimated tax payments quarterly. NYC Free Tax Prep can help. Look for the site specific for the self-employment where you can get your other free resources to help you grow your business.
Jason, just one quick question.
Well, go ahead.
So Grow Brooklyn is able to provide this year-round service for the self-employed?
Yes, self-employment is year-round.
Oh, wow. And they can do that right at Grow Brooklyn?
Yes, they can do that right at Grow Brooklyn. And also, usually there is a late season also to file for taxes also. So I don't know when it goes on to now, basically, but it might go into at least into May for people that are later filing their taxes. And like I said, if you know that you're going to get back a refund, you don't have to file an extension. There's no, you don't have any time. You just need to file within the past 3 years to file your taxes. If you know you're going to get back a refund. If you know you're going to owe, you need to file before April 15th.
Got it. Thank you.
Next slide. New York's free tax prep. This is basically the numbers and where our locations are, all the locations that we have available for Grow Brooklyn. And if you need an appointment, you can go on growbrooklyn.org /free taxes and set up an appointment there, or you can call the number 347-682-5606 and they will give you whatever location they have nearest to your location, basically where you live, or whatever times is suitable for you, because some sites we do have that are open on weekends only, so they're like all day weekends, Saturday and Sundays. Some are open for after work hours, some are open in the daytime also. Taxpayers' Bill of Rights.
Yes, thank you so much. I think we're going to turn it over to Tamara Del Carmen. Don't worry, Jason will be back to answer your questions at the end.
Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you so much, Kendra, and everyone for joining us. So again, my name is Tamara Del Carmen, and I am going to be switching gears a little bit and want to talk to everybody as your rights as a taxpayer. Yes, we have rights. So from the 3-part series, we've learned about all of your tax filing obligations, as well as the deadlines and the credits and deductions. Now we're going to get into the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. The Taxpayer Bill of Rights highlights 10 fundamental rights that taxpayers have when dealing with the IRS. And every taxpayer should be aware of these rights in case they need to work on a personal tax issue. The IRS expects all of their employees to understand and apply these rights throughout every encounter with taxpayers. Number 1, the right to be informed. Taxpayers have the right to know what they need to do to comply with tax laws. They are entitled to clear explanations of the laws and IRS procedures in all tax forms, instructions, publications, notices, and correspondence. They have the right to be informed of IRS decisions about their tax accounts and to receive clear explanations of the outcomes. This means that certain notices must include the amounts of any tax, interest, and certain penalties that you owe, as well as explain why you owe these amounts. And when the IRS fully or partially disallows a claim for a refund, the IRS must explain the reason why. Number 2, the right to quality service. Taxpayers have the right to receive prompt, courteous, and professional assistance in their dealings with the IRS, to be spoken to in a way they can easily understand, to receive clear and easily understandable communications from the IRS, and to speak to a supervisor about inadequate service. In the 90s, the IRS established the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, also known as TIGTA. It's an independent office from all other offices and bureaus within the Department of Treasury. And their role is committed to serving the public by conducting audits and investigations to continuously improve IRS operations. Number 3, taxpayers have the right to pay no more than the correct amount of tax. Taxpayers only need to pay the amount of tax legally due, including interest and penalties, and to have the IRS apply all tax payments properly. Number 4, the right to challenge the IRS's position and be heard. We all have a right to raise objections and provide additional documents in response to any formal IRS action or proposed action, and expect that the IRS will consider all of our timely objections and documentation promptly and fairly. And we are also entitled to receive a response if the IRS does not agree with our positions. Taxpayer right number 5, the right to appeal an IRS decision in an independent forum. Taxpayers are entitled to a fair and impartial administrative appeal of most IRS decisions, including many penalties, and we also have the right to receive a written response regarding the Office of Appeals decision. Taxpayers generally have the right to take their cases to court. Next slide, please. This is a brief overview or a general overview of the IRS appeals process. It first starts off with a compliance action. If the IRS finds a problem with your return, whether the IRS makes a determination that you owe more taxes or you may not be entitled to a refund, the IRS is going to propose some form of compliance, either pay this amount or prove these additional documents. In response to that, the taxpayer can file an appeal. The IRS is going to review or actually transfer the case to appeals. And if the taxpayer rejects any type of proposed compliance resolution, appeals will review the taxpayer's position and the IRS position, and appeals will hold a conference with the taxpayer or their representative. Once the IRS appeals office does this and reviews it, they will then communicate a decision. Now, sometimes the taxpayer can actually bypass an appeals process and go directly to tax court. This is what the general overview states. Next slide, please. Number 6, taxpayer right number 6, the right to finality. Taxpayers have the right to know the maximum amount of time they have to challenge the IRS's position, as well as the maximum amount of time the IRS has to audit a particular tax year or collect a tax debt. Taxpayers have the right to know when the IRS has finished an audit. So generally, if a taxpayer owes taxes to the IRS has 10 years from the date of assessment to collect that tax. After 10 years, the IRS cannot legally collect the tax debt, and the taxpayer does not have to pay anything. Right number 7, the right to privacy. Taxpayers have the right to expect that any IRS inquiry, examination, or enforcement action will comply with the law, and it won't be any more intrusive than as is necessary, and will respect all due process rights, including any search and seizure protections, and will provide any type of collection due process hearing. Number 8, the right to confidentiality. Taxpayers have the right to expect that the information they provide to the IRS will not be disclosed unless authorized by the taxpayer or by law. Taxpayers have the right to expect appropriate action will be taken against employees and tax return preparers and others who wrongfully use or disclose taxpayer return information. Number 9, the right to retain representation. Taxpayers have the right to retain an authorized representative of their choice to represent them in their dealings with the IRS. Taxpayers have the right to seek assistance from a low-income taxpayer clinic if they cannot afford representation. And number 10, the right to a fair and just tax system. Taxpayers have the right to expect the tax system to consider facts and circumstances that might affect their underlying liabilities, ability to pay, or ability to provide information timely. Taxpayers have the right to receive assistance from the Taxpayer Advocate Service if they are experiencing any financial difficulty or if the IRS has not resolved their tax issues properly and timely through its normal channels. Those are the 10 Taxpayer Bill of Rights. I will now pass it back to Kendra. Thank you. Hi, Kendra. We do not hear you. If you can just make sure you're unmuted.
Great. Well, thank you, Tamara. So sorry there. This next slide is on best practices and IRS notices. The best thing that you can do if you receive a notice, one, don't ignore it. If you're confused, call Brooklyn A. Call Grow Brooklyn. Call someone to go over that with you. And Tamara, do you want to go over some other best practices if you receive an IRS notice?
If you receive an IRS notice and I recommend first contacting the IRS directly to just let them know that you are in receipt of notice and need additional time to review the notice. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, as Kendra mentioned, reach out to Grow Brooklyn, reach out to Brooklyn A, and we can help you.
And the biggest thing to try to avoid are scams. No one from the IRS is going to contact you on social media or via text message. And please tell our elders in the neighborhood, our parents, our cousins, our sisters, ourselves, if someone's texting you from the IRS, that it will never happen. The first point of contact will always be a letter. So please do not fall victim to these scams, and with technology, they become more frequent. But the main thing is also you don't want to ignore them, answer them in a timely fashion. The sooner you address it, the better it is for everyone. But if you did ignore it and it happens, call Brooklyn A, call Grow Brooklyn, and we'll help you navigate the system. And then here are some great links if you ever have some questions. The volunteer income tax assistance sites like Rural Brooklyn, you can find it there on the IRS, the official IRS government website. Then you can do your own individual IRS accounts by visiting irs.gov as well. And then stimulus checks. The last rounds of stimulus checks have already went out. But if there was ever any issues, this is the numbers that you can call to find out what happened to those. So we are here at the Q&A portion. Now we had two parts of this, a part for business owners and then your taxpayer bill of rights. If you have questions, now is the time to drop them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and you can ask your questions directly to our experts.
And I'm just going to throw this out there. If anyone is interested in asking a specific tax question related to your own personal situation, we do have Tax Talk Thursdays that we schedule where you can have a one-on-one meeting with a specialist from Grow Brooklyn and Brooklyn A at your disposal.
I'm just gonna drop our info email address in the chat so that if you have questions or you want to learn more about our tax tables on Thursday, so you can get that individual appointment, you feel free to email us there. We'd be more happy to direct you in the best way we can. All right, so any last thoughts, Jason or Tamara or Councilmember Hudson's office? Anything else we'd like to add tonight?
No, I think we went through most of all of it. And again, if you do have any specific questions, again, they can always reach out to us on Thursday, or they can, call up Grow Brooklyn also, and somebody will always get back to them if they have a specific question.
Well, I definitely want to say thank you to you all this evening for joining us. And I hope everyone has a successful and productive tax season ahead. Don't forget, tax deadline's April 15th. And please reach out. You do not have to navigate the IRS alone. We have experts on staff here to help. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you all for the next one.
You too. Thank you so much, Kendra.
Thank
Good evening,
you.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.